Hello, my name is Stephanie Hopson, and I want to thank you for joining me today, June 28th, 2025, to talk about interpersonal communication and allowing me an opportunity to share my interpersonal communication plan with you. I live in Northeast Tennessee with my husband and our 10 children. We're a foster family. We started out with 2 children. We've adopted 4, so we have 6 of our own, and we currently have 4 bonus kiddos. And with that many people living in our home, it is so important that we communicate effectively to where we can help others understand what we're saying, but also try to understand what others are saying to us. I also work in the human services field for a private foster care agency here in Tennessee. And whether it's talking to the kiddos that we serve, the case managers who work with them, or birth families or foster families, it is so important that I learn to communicate well with each of those people. But what is interpersonal communication? Well, Peterson describes interpersonal communication as the ability to not only share information, but also to connect with other people. And then Schultz and Brzezinski say that communication is a shared understanding. A shared understanding. Now, we know that communication is more than just what we say and what we hear. Nonverbal communication is very important in what we do, especially in the human services field. France and Weichel say that the nonverbal communication is given through our senses. So we have our smell, our touch, our sight, what we hear, the sounds that we hear. And when you put all of this together, you get a sense of what interpersonal communication looks like. So, through the course of this class, we've had an opportunity to take a couple of assessments to tell us where we stood with our communication skills at the beginning of the class. We took a Uniquely You profile by Carbonell, and that has 2 different blends that it gives you. It gives you a expected of me blend, and this is me blend. My expected of me blend is the I personality type, the inspirational influencer. It was surprising how relative and accurate these blends are. The I personality type loves to talk. Guilty right here. They're friendly and outgoing. They like to try to inspire other people. But there's some things they need to be careful of. Sometimes we tend to be a little prideful and egotistical, and that's something that I need to keep an eye on and make sure that I don't let those things become something that hinders me in my communication. Also, the This Is Me blend type that I was given was the CIS, the Competent Influencing Specialist. And that's somebody who tends to have strong people skills, be a little bit more passive than aggressive, tries to be friendly, and tends to go by the rules. But it's also somebody who might want to or tend to worry a little bit too much. And that's something that I also need to keep an eye on in my communication. Now, we also took the Queendom Interpersonal Communication Skills Test. On that test, I scored an overall score of 73. However, my listening skills were only a 62. And that's where my interpersonal communication plan comes into play. I have a goal of not just becoming a better listener, but listening with the intent to learn from the speaker. And that's my goal. Now, to reach that goal, I'm going to try to implement 3 different steps. 1, I'm going to stop ritual listening. I'm going to utilize the talker-listener card, and I'm also going to decrease multitasking, and we'll talk more about those in just a moment. Now, as a person, I have some communication barriers. One of my communication barriers we just mentioned was ritual listening. Ritual listening, according to Peterson, is something that might seem okay to the speaker. However, instead of really listening, I start preparing a response as soon as the speaker starts speaking. So I'm not really listening to learn, I'm listening to respond. And that's a communication barrier that I'd like to overcome. Also, another communication barrier that I have would be that I'm a fixer. I like to fix things. We know that Peterson says that when the talker is talking, they need to own their own problem. It's not the listener's job to fix the problem. It's the listener's job to listen. And so that's something that I want to work on as well. And then another barrier that I have is multitasking. I am so guilty of multitasking. In today's world, with technology everywhere, we all tend to want to multitask sometimes. but I really like to multitask. When my children are talking to me, I tend to be on my phone. When a coworker is talking to me as a team leader, I oftentimes rationalize, well, I'm really busy, so I'm going to send an email while they're talking to me. That's not fair to the people talking to me. And so I'm going to make a commitment to quit multitasking. So, going a little bit more into depth with each of those, with my goal of listening with the intent to learn, I want to stop ritual listening. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to give the speaker my full attention. That's my first implementation step. But to do that, I am going to actually turn to the speaker. I'm going to look at the speaker, and I am going to focus on what they are actually saying. I want to listen to see what they have to say for the purpose of hearing and understanding. And I want to know that when I respond to them, I'm responding because I actually listened to what they had to say. The next thing is I want to utilize Peterson's TLC, Talker Listener Card Technique. This is a technique that he developed to help both talkers and listeners communicate with each other better. As a listener, I need to remain calm. I need to hear the talker, and I need to remember that it's not what the talker is talking about is not my problem. It's something that they need to own. Now, as a talker with that, on the other hand, I need to remember it is my problem. But I also need to talk in a very non-judgmental way. And so utilizing the talker listener card and actually having that card and flipping it around is going to help me to become a better listener and listening to learn from the speaker. And then the next is multitasking. So again, I want to listen to learn. And if I'm multitasking, I can't really hear and understand what the person talking is wanting to say to me. So to implement this goal and to implement this step, I am going to make a commitment to when someone is talking to me, I want to put down my cell phone. I want to give them my undivided attention. If I am doing an email, I need to close that laptop. And I know that being able to single task instead of multitasking is going to help me have deeper relationships with other people. So that's my communication plan and how I plan to implement it. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen today to this plan and wish you all the best.